Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Folks, we got a great show for you today. First, let's talk about the Queen, as there still is a time of mourning for Queen Elizabeth II. The question that we're asking today is, when should you speak the truth about the dead? Now, you know that old adage, don't speak ill of the dead, but what about when you speak the truth, especially when it comes to high-profile figures such as Queen Elizabeth II? We'll have that conversation. Also, in the state of Tennessee, in Memphis, as a result of two violent attacks, folks are calling for a harsher prison sentencing, and how that may be able to be used to prevent violent crime. But what do you think? I'm going to share with you the details of one Tennessee law and get your take on it, as well as we check in with our culture crew. And then later, let's talk about free expression, how censorship is on the ballot in November, but why we need to speak up to make sure that it doesn't become a part of our governance. So we'll have that conversation. And then later I'll check in with Julian Pertano and Anthony Commodore to talk about their new project and the state of diversity in Hollywood. I'll share with you what Tyler Perry had to say at this past weekend's Toronto International Film Festival. So stay with us. All of that is happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of these conversations, because we got some great ones for you, folks. But before we jump in, make sure y'all do your due diligence and continue to support us here on Black Star Network. We are doing our part to bring you those news and information and conversations that you know that we need to have, everything about health and wellness, to money, to making big decisions in your life, and of course, politics and the culture. So make sure you check us out at blackstarnetwork.com and support us financially. Continue to share our content and make us the #1 platform, online digital platform, that is going to take our conversation, our culture, our news to the next level. We need your support, blackstarnetwork.com. All right, folks, today I wanted to continue to have conversations about Queen Elizabeth II. It is very interesting what people are saying about the British monarch and the state of the monarch, and what will be the new monarch as King Charles has assumed the role after his mom passed away last week. Queen Elizabeth II has a very colorful history, and many people are still up in debate about whether she should be praised or persecuted. But the question that we're posing today is, when do you speak about the dead? When do you speak the truth about the dead, right? There's that old adage, don't speak ill of the dead. Y'all know that old adage. Well, it brought up a conversation that we saw, according to a new USA Today columnist. He brings up this point about speaking about the dead. Like, even with the Queen passing, do we need to really bring up every element of her legacy? Take a look at this, folks. Speaking ill of the dead, we can't ignore Queen Elizabeth's complicated legacy. Yeah. Now, before we jump into the conversations, I got to bring in my culture crew, Jules P., who is a hip hop artist and activist, and of course, my sister B Fly, who's the co-founder of Blackwater, a production house, and she's also a writer and a film maker as well. All right. So Jules and B, I want to talk about this situation. Let me share with you what this writer had to say about speaking about the dead, because I thought it was a very, very interesting point. Take a look, folks. Let's throw this up here on the screen really quickly, Keenan. Thank you, sir. He said this. Now, this gentleman, let me make sure I'm getting his name correctly here. He talks about this. He's a writer by the name of Stephen Petro. He's a writer on civility and manners, and he's a member of USA Today's board of contributors. Now, he wrote this. He said, as is too often the case, When a notable person like a head of state or monarch dies, there's all too little context or texture in the retelling of their life story. Suddenly, the narrative is intended to bolster their legacy rather than make sense of their place in history. When a public person like your president or the queen dies, it's a different story. Balance must be paid to their record. Acknowledging shades of gray in a leader's legacy is quite a bit different from kicking up your heels in celebration at their demise or wishing excruciating pain upon them. How does the latter help to deepen our understanding of the recently departed monarch's life? It doesn't. Our task when a world leader dies must be to consider what deeper truths and unresolved problems their legacy represents. Responding with unbridled fury doesn't get the job done, just as failing to speak frankly doesn't get the job done. Rather than asking whether it's polite to speak ill of Queen Elizabeth II, let's focus on asking what lessons can we take away from her life that will help us in the future. Interesting take. All right, let me start with B Flower with this one. Hey, B, what? Firstly, why you got that look on your face, B? You already looking like, because I'm interested, B. I want to know, when do we have those complicated conversations about people, especially a person like Queen Elizabeth II, who has been around for 70 years. So now, personally, I think this 70 years is all up for this fair game right now, right? Her testimony is over. She has passed away. Now we can have a very real conversation about who she is, what she represents, and all that good stuff. Is that true or not, or do you agree more with the writer here?
Listen, Black people have been having this conversation. We will always have the conversation as a self-appointed moral compass of the world, of the planet, of the universe. We are going to troll you if your life is worthy of being trolled, whether you're alive or dead. That's what we do. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, and it's a byproduct as a result of the world not repairing the damage that the world has done to Black people. As a result, we can judge you in your life and in your death. And this is what we do. No, boo, ding dong, the queen is dead. Moving forward. So I can't wait to see her son fuck up. Because he about to fuck up, Farajii.
You mean Charles?
Oh my goodness.
He's about to fuck up. And you said you can't wait to see that.
I can't wait to see it. Listen, it's not on my land. They ain't got shit to do with my peoples. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting to troll. Like literally. Like they not my peoples, they not my kind. And so as a result, fire burn. You know?
Right.
So it's like his name is in like the Black book of who's the sexual predator whose girlfriend has recently gone to prison, but he committed suicide. What's his name? So I mean, so he's already involved with like molestation and pedophile allegations and the whole nine. You know what I'm saying? Like the queen has repeatedly had to punish her son and to sit his ass down because he wilding out of control.
He's doing too much. He's doing way too much.
So this
is doing way too much. But you know what though? Like and I think that's the part of it, Jules, that like you can't run away from the truth of who you are, of the truth of yourself. You can't run away from your past deeds, right? Only thing you could do is try to change to be better. Do you think that it's like, when is the right time to have that very, very blatant conversation? And a lot of people feeling the same way that B is feeling. Like, we just want to see all of it fall apart. But how do we have a balanced conversation? Or should we not even seek balance at this point when it comes to certain individuals like the queen, or even when the president dies?
I don't think you should seek balance at all with any person. So my view on it is, if there's something from your past that you've done that has to be, addressed, then that's, that needs to be addressed, right? Like that's part of your legacy. So that's nothing that you can hide. So for instance, if you know somebody that passed away and, they've done nothing but good, and there's no truth to reveal, there's no truth to speak about. There's nothing to talk about from the past decisions they made. But when you have somebody of ilk or of high standing, and they've been involved in some mess majority of their life, or made terrible decisions, or had led with the unruled justice, that has to be brought to the forefront immediately. Because again, this is the time we're living in. Like, yeah, I know the don't speak ill of the dead thing. Yeah, that was when we were growing up. Well, that was before social media. The day you die, as soon as you die, it's like that's
your life is
like the first 10 seconds of you passing away. There's already going to be tweets. There's already going to be memes. There's already going to be like that's the world we live in this day. So it's like your information and what you've done in the past is already on the forefront within the first 12 hours of your passing. So it's like now that it's like you can't suppress it. Like this the way of the world, the way of the media nowadays, you can't suppress the issues that you had. So I mean, I'm not telling everybody to live righteous, because of course we've all done some messed up things in our past, and to a certain extent, I mean, I'm not saying if you committed murder or molestation and things like that, like it just suppress it. But I'm just saying in the sense of we've all done things in our past. So I mean,
that we're not proud of.
Yeah, if it has to come to light, then I mean, there's no timetable. Like if when you pass, it's like, all right, we got to address it, especially if it's affecting other lives. And that's where I get my siding towards the article. Is like when it starts affecting other people, it's like, all right, we got to address this ASAP. Because how long are we gonna let somebody, like, if people that were affected by your reign have suffered the whole time, and then all of a sudden you pass, it's like they're now seeking a freedom from that reign, so they don't care to death. It's like that's not their concern.
Right. That's very interesting, and it makes me think about the great challenge that King Charles is going to have to address it. I mean, people are already, and here's the thing. People, whether you love or hate the Queen, we look at King Charles like he's just a seat filler, because people are like, yo, the monarch needs to get into a more progressive place. So hopefully, I think it's William. That's the oldest one, right? William is going to have to, kind of atone, quote unquote, for the sins of his the sins of his grandmother, his family, right, and his father. And so, I think there's this rush to try to see him in the king's throne, because there's the hope that maybe the monarch can turn a tide, that maybe something good can come out of all of this pain and evil and oppression and systemic racism, that maybe
like
something
a meteor.
good.
Yeah, a meteor can fall down from the galaxy right now, just
blow up,
just blow it all up, and then we'll be like, told you. That's what we do. We'd have told you so, race. You ought to told you. Yeah, we just waiting because clearly we're not going to get reparations. So as a result, we just got to wait for vengeance, natural, good old vengeance, so ding dong.
That homegrown divine intervention.
You know what I'm saying? We just trust on the Lord. That's what we do as a people,
Okay.
And we just let the Lord bring in the tsunamis.
All right, let's go. I'm just gonna go to our online culture crew. Let's see what folks got to say as they check it in, folks. Folks, we're asking the question: when should we speak the truth about the dead? I want to get your take on this. Make sure y'all hit me up on my on our social media platforms on YouTube and Facebook, and let's hear what you got to say. All right, Shalinda kicking us off today. You say why they say the world is mourning her passing. I'm part of the world, and I ain't mourning shit. Well, I mean, I get it. I totally get it. I hate when they say that. That's why I try not to use those terms. You know what I'm saying, Jules? I hate when people are like, all of America or something. Like, man, that's not all of America.
Right.
That's not you can say some if you really want to be accurate. But even in the term, in the uses of language, just the small uses of language, from one word saying from the world to some of the world, can make a huge difference. It can help to shape the context of how her legacy is seen, and it gives us some indication of the truth, right? But when you put it across the paper like, oh, the world is mourning her, like we're all in this perpetual sadness. We've been in this state of perpetual sadness over the past couple of days. That's not the truth.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. And so here's the thing: the world remembers Diana. The world, you know, and so it's like that was such a real situation. Like, I was a child watching paparazzi chase Diana down the street. You know, so it's like we all watched how the Queen trolled Diana for trying to connect with the people. We saw that. Then fast forward 30, 40 years, we see the Queen's treatment of Meghan. So here we are. We have the idea of this 70-year matriarch, right? That has also intersected our sexual revolution, our feminist revolution, but yet we have this woman who has been subjugating the women in her court whole time. So no, we do not cheer for the dead who have wronged our people. We don't do that, you know? And so it's like, if anything, you know, we'll have a block party, we'll have a parade. I love the memes. I love the troll brigade. Like, Black people and our graphic minds are absolutely phenomenal, you know? And so this is what we do.
This is what we do. This is what we do.
We troll
let's
our
go to
oppressors.
Eddie, you checked in. You said there, and I'm glad to hear from you, Eddie. You said there is nothing that is complicated about the Queen's legacy. It was there before she was even born. That is a legacy of slavery and colonialism, also racism. It's nothing to. I mean, that's you gotta bring it out to the forefront. You got to say the obvious. You know, I'm so sick and tired of, you know, big events, big moments in world history and national history. And we don't want to just call out the big elephant in the room. You got to say certain things. I'm at that point in my life. I think that comes with getting older, being Jules. Like, the older you get, you're like, yo, I'm tired of the bullshit, bro. Right. Now I know why older people, they get straight to I don't know if y'all had those kind of grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
They don't sugarcoat nothing.
My grandmother didn't sugarcoat nothing, bro. You know what I'm saying? She was like 4'11", 93 pounds with a bag of coins in her. You know what I mean? Small, structured woman. But she was ferocious. She was fiery. And she didn't sugarcoat nothing. About family, you ask her, she gonna tell you the truth. And she was loving, but I appreciated her commitment to truth. And I think that that's the place that we're working ourselves into in this country and around the globe, that we just got to get to the truth. I think people are essentially tired. We're all tired, and we all have suffered as a result of constantly being lied to about every single thing.
Right.
Jules, what's your take?
100% agree with that. That's why, you know, it's funny to me that, you know, a lot of your dirty laundry is aired out when you're alive, especially when you're on your rise to power, especially when you're getting into power. So again, that's why I said there's no holds barred once passing, because it's already going to be out there to begin with. It's not like you live this righteous life in the forefront of the world, and then as soon as you pass, then dirty laundry comes out. No, we knew about your dirty laundry. It's now going to be magnified because you didn't fix your dirty laundry. You never addressed your dirty laundry, and then you were so open with how your critique and your cruelness was in your reign, whether you were Queen Elizabeth, whether you're a president, whatever. I mean, we do the same thing with our presidents of the United States. I mean, look what you got to deal with the last situation. So it's like, you know, right. It's already out there. So it's like, and we're still dealing with a January 6th from 2 years ago right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the man just he keeps on admitting that, oh, I wasn't gonna give him my seat in the White House. So it's like, what more are we searching for? Like, people have a lot of mess with them. And I think that, you know, sometimes we become numb to so much nonsense. It's sort of like, you know, living in a city that's high violence. It's like you hear about somebody getting killed. You're so numb to it because somebody gets killed every day. Well, that's what it is with these politicians and these rules of power. It's like, it's so much nonsense that they had to go through in their reign that we had to be affected by. It's like, Dad, we're so used to it because we always been middle class. So we've never seen millions and billions in our lifetimes. So it's like, all right, well, I'm just to whatever nonsense y'all got because it doesn't really affect me at all anyway.
That's a great point, Jules. Great point. All right, let's go back to the comments, folks. We want to share a few more before we take out next pause. Janelle, you always check in. It's good to hear from you today, sis. You say, look, just taking lessons from her life would be a luxury if the oppression that she was a part of was over, but it isn't. The cruelty must be over before the lessons can be learned and the healing can begin. I want to do that for Janelle. Yes. Yes. Like, you can't forgive somebody, one, who you can't forgive somebody or look past somebody's indiscretions until, one, they acknowledge those indiscretions themselves. Two, not only did they acknowledge it, they apologized for it, right? And the queen, on certain moments, have come out to say certain things about certain atrocities from her past, right? But we don't hear about that too often. We don't always know those moments. But there is like this thing, like if somebody dies, and I feel like maybe this is linked to, and don't get mad at me, y'all, but this kind of like this religious tone, like, you know, because we like, oh, don't speak ill. But if somebody dies, right, and we can't say something about their whole life. I mean, from start to finish. We can't say anything about their whole life. We can't make a judgment about their whole life. But you can judge people when they go into court, right? There's a judge of your minor actions, right? We judge people when the criminal justice system, when we're talking about parole, and they're still living their lives. They still have an opportunity to be better and to contribute to society. But you're talking about the person that's died, and you're like, oh, don't.
You know,
Yeah, it's just the wild stuff. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
we think that somebody dead is going to, like, it's an offense to God. Like, they're dead. At this point, we have the right to say something, right?
You know, I call this when it's time to run the Z tape. Anyone who has been in retail knows at the end of the night and at the end of the month, you are running a tape. You're running a Z tape. This is going to run all of your transactions from that night, that month, that year. So you can get a really accurate account of everything you've done, all of your returns, all of your sales, anyone who has, you know, stolen from your inventory. At the end of the day, you're able to run this tape. What happens when we die? Our Z tape gets run, and we're not the ones who are reading it. It's the rest of the world, all right, who are left to deal with the loss of our life, right? And in that gap, you have the people who are able to speak on your legacy. So once upon a time, you know, before social media in the good old 1900s, we were able to just read a little bit in the Inquirer, see a little something on the news. We get the periodicals, and that's about it. We can go into our home and we'll be done. All right, we'll be done. But today, we are all judges of each other. And so this puts a greater eye on humanity, honestly. And so with that, we are all responsible. So it's like, all right, there is a sanctity in the birth and in the death of a human soul. All right. But listen, I've been reckoning for a long time with the fact that I don't think white people become ancestors. I don't think the queen has become an ancestor able to move mountains from the other realm. I don't think their genealogy even allows for that because of the level of human plague that they have created on the planet. You know, so it's kind of like cause and effect sort of thing. So when we say respect the dead, we are talking about the respectful dead. We're not talking about the pillagers of the world that literally deserve to be tortured for the next 10 trillion fucking years. That's what we're dealing with here, you know, because there is no energy never dies. I think we can kind of understand that, right? But there seems to be a difference with the ancestral realm when we talk about Black people and white people, and so white people see ghosts. Ghosts are not ancestors. There's a difference. There's a fundamental difference. So I think that is why we are permitted, okay, to troll this this being, because this being has not been elevated to a spiritual place of respect and sovereignty with the world and the souls of the world, you know? So I mean, and so I'll even liken this to Betty White. It's different vibration with these two women and their life and the way they handled the people publicly, you know? So publicly, the people are going to respect them different.
And be to that point, I think that's a great point. I mean, we all have to figure out, and I think this is a great cultural point. We don't have time to certainly talk more about that, but I think you open up the doors, like, what makes you an ancestor, right? Like, because that's a coveted role. That's a coveted place to be. Even as you transition, if we still feeding on the wisdom and the knowledge and the lessons from your life, right, in such a very powerful and empowering way, you know what I mean? That's like determining, like, okay, how do you determine? Who determines that this person is an ancestor? Because the freedom fighters of Black people might be the threat to white people, right? And at the end of the day, they're not going to look at that as an ancestor. You know what I mean? So each group of people, I think each group of people, we all have our ancestors. If you're from Britain and you lived under the Queen's rule for certain periods of time, you might see her as an ancestor. We don't know. I don't know. But I think that it is contingent upon who you are as well. But I think I like that point. We got to figure out how do we have that part of the conversation, because I think it resonates that everybody doesn't get that status. Everybody doesn't get that level of respect. Everybody is not in that place. Very quickly
we
before
talk
we
about
take
venerating.
Say it again.
I say when we talk about venerating our dead, that's really what we're dealing with. And so and better believe they trying. Like, believe all of the walks around, all of the strolls around 7 times. They have definitely participated in lots of ceremony, in order to ensure, her life force in the realm. But I don't think that their powers work.
Yeah, because I mean, it also is contingent upon who is doing the speaking. Right. So like Mike V, very quickly, I want to get Mike's comment in. Mike, you said when they took down Gaddafi, they made every excuse to take him down, even as a purveyor of women's rights with highest standards of living in Africa. They celebrated taking him down, not caring of his legacy. I think that's true. It depends on who is telling the story. That's the part. It depends on who is telling the story. So if you look at Queen Elizabeth, you might say, oh man, she was this woman of class, stability, gracefulness, and all of these things. You look at Gaddafi, oh man, he was a terrorist, he's a murderer. But who's telling that story? Is it America, right? Is it our media? Or is it the BBC? Or is it Al Jazeera? You see what I'm saying? Like who is telling the story? Because whoever has the loudest voice, the biggest platform, they tell the story. But then all of us who are history lovers and those who want to keep the integrity of the culture together, we have a responsibility to make sure that story is not being told in a biased way, or that story is not being told without including the truth of the narrative into it. And that's why we even have this whole conversation about Black Star being, somebody's got to tell our truth and plead our case and tell our story. It's because for so long, and we all know it, for Black people, our story has often been told through the lens of our oppressor. And you can't tell, and real quick, Jules, give me your take on this. How are you going to go against How are you going to tell the history of a people, right, through the eyes of the ones who has been an integral part of keeping that person down or making that person feel less than human? But you go to them and, you know, it's like we're expecting this equal treatment of our freedom fighters, and we expect the American media system to tell their story accurately. Now we're slowly doing it. Journalism is changing. You know what I'm saying? It is slowly changing. I'm saying not just from black people, but even white people. When we had Jen Dice talking about the real story of Aretha Franklin last week. But the thing is, it all depends on who's telling the story. All right, what's your final thought on that, Jules?
So real quick, I mean, and let me give this like perspective quickly. So I was thinking about this. So say, for instance, you're working a job, nice career job, and you get fired because you have a racist boss. Like he's like really, or they're a really racist person. And so, you know, when they pass away, you're like, oh, the hell with them. Like, I see how they treat me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they get. You know, karma, you know, black people say karma's a B. That's what they're going to say. But right. Then you hear the people that know them say, man, they were a great person. Like, I knew them from this and all the stuff that they did for our community and blah, 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 like that. And then you sit there reconsider, like, well, maybe I was a little dark. Like, nah, bro, like, it's still the same energy. Like, it's still like, let me keep this same energy based off of what I had to deal with. You can't tell me based off of what your past is and what you've had to deal with to say, oh, this is how you're supposed to feel. Like, no, I got to feel how I feel. Like, same way with our ancestors in passing. Again, that's another conversation for another day, but it's just like, you can't tell me my history from your perspective if I'm living my history.
Right. And I think that there has to be a space for all sentiments. You know what I'm saying? Like, B, you got strong views about this situation. Jules, you got strong views. A lot of our online culture crew members, they got strong views about the situation. But guess what? I can't censor them. I can't be like, yo, no, son, you know what I'm saying? That's a natural, like you gotta, because that's the reason why people feel like they're not going to be heard, because if it's not popular. And the culture is not about being, if we're talking about changing the culture, we can't look at the metric of what's popular. We got to look at the metric of what's good, what's right, what's truthful, what's debilitating, what's empowering. I mean, you got to look at it from all sides. You got to bring all people into it, because that way we all can at least get a better view of all of these different dynamics of the culture. Because if I came up on here and be like, no, you know, she did some stuff, but you know what I'm saying, like, out of respect for the monarch, like, yeah, we could say that, but I can't deny the fact that there are still a lot of black people, a lot of white people in this country and around the globe that are like, wait a minute, her history is very, very complicated, and it shouldn't be whitewashed, and we shouldn't blackball people for speaking their truth about the understanding of her history. And I think we just gotta be more inclusive. All right, look, we gotta take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Memphis. Now, we know about the unfortunate killing of that stabbing that the 19-year-old black man did just a few days ago. Now, the question is, people are saying, well, what if he was in prison longer, if there was a stiffer prison sentence, we wouldn't have lost people. This wouldn't have happened. What are your thoughts about this? Do you think that stiffer prison or tougher prison sentences will help to relieve or help to prevent violence? We'll have that conversation. Then at the top of the hour, let's talk a little bit about free expression, the idea of censorship being on the ballot. We'll have that conversation and a whole lot more. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Can you believe the nerve of these Republicans? They only want to block progress for our community. They talk about cutting Medicare and Social Security. They played politics with veterans' health care. They voted against the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act and funding for our HBCUs, and against lowering prescription drug costs for our seniors. These Republicans keep trying hard to stand in the way, but President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Democrats won't let them. They are delivering for us. The Democratic National Committee is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds. an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome to the show, The Culture, here on the Black Star Network. I wanted to have another conversation about what we've seen in Memphis. Now, you remember last week when we reported on the tragedies there where a 19-year-old black man was involved in the killing of 4 people and injuring 3. Now there is a larger growing call for tougher penalties or tougher prison sentences with the hope that it will prevent violence. And the CNN reported this, folks. Check this out. It says that calls for tougher prison sentences are growing in Memphis, Tennessee, as word spread. The suspects in 2 violent attacks there this month had been released from prison before serving their full sentences for prior convictions. Now, expert told CNN research shows that harsher penalties are not an effective deterrent to violent crime. Instead, they said rehabilitation programs to help violent or habitual offenders reintegrate into society are essential for public safety and preventing recidivism, which the National Institute of Justice measures by criminal acts resulting in rearrest, reconviction, or return to prison within 3 years after the person's release. Now, here's the thing, folks, that folks are saying, well, look, if people were in prison longer, if they actually did the time for the crime that they've committed, we probably would have less crime. This is the tone that the sheriff there in Tennessee said, Mr. Strickland. He said that if Mr. Kelly served his full term, speaking of the 19-year-old who killed those 4 people last week, he said if Mr. Kelly served his full 3-year sentence, he would still be in prison today, and 4 of our fellow citizens would still be alive. He's echoing concerns about the criminal justice system and repeat offenders following the 2 attacks. He said the problem is not the Memphis Police Department. The problem is the judicial system that will not punish. Now, I'm sorry, he's the mayor not the sheriff. He said the mayor emphasized this a Tennessee sentencing law, which went into effect in May, which could have prevented the attacks this month, and said it is a must in stopping violent crime. The controversial truth in sentencing law requires those convicted of violent crimes such as murder to serve their full sentence without the possibility of parole or early release. Those who are convicted of lesser crimes such as aggravated assault are required to serve at least 85% of their sentence according to the law. Let me bring my culture crew back very quickly. B Fly, Jules P. What, do y'all agree with the mayor on this? That there needs to be a completion of the sentence. Do you think that tougher penalties, prison sentences, will help to reduce violent crimes, or are you guys siding with the National Institute of Justice when they say that's not an effective deterrent to violent crime? Jules, what's your take on that?
There's no effect to deterrent of violent crime, because that's why violent crimes keep on happening. It doesn't matter if the sentences are longer. It doesn't matter if you have rehabilitation programs. People are in and out of jail so much because the jails are so overpopulated because there's so many crimes. So now that you have so many inmates, it's not enough space. So now you have to find ways and reasons to get certain people out, certain people in. It's a corrupted system. I remember talking about this on a couple, weeks ago. It's like, prison, let's not act like prison is like a real place to really sentence people. It's just a money game. Like the commissioner and all that. It's just a money game. The more inmates you have, the more money you make. Like it's all a ploy. So it's like, I think that, I can see both sides. So like, okay, longer sentences. Yeah, I mean, they're already, 25 to life is already a long sentence for murder, but people still killing people. So that doesn't scare people. Like that sentence doesn't scare people at all. And then you have to say, oh, well, keeping them in jail is not the answer. Let's give them rehabilitation programs. Yeah, then they come out and still commit crimes. So there's no, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, there's no logical answer. There's crime in high crime areas that's going to continue. And, the thought or deterrent of, oh, if I do this crime, I'm going to jail. Also, I can do this crime and still get away with it because it's homies up the street doing the same thing and they ain't getting caught either. So it's like, it's no deterrent right now in this thing. And it's a sad thing because, again, like I said, living in high crime areas, you see it, you hear it, you talk to inmates, you talk to people who've been released and on the streets, and it's just like, it's a thin layer of ice to walk across because it's like, there is no real penalty. It's like the mentality of the person is what has to change. It can't be the penalty because the penalty doesn't matter clearly, because if I'm giving you all this time for murder, there's still murders every single day. So there's really not a actual thing that can deter people from killing. It's just your mental makeup of what you are, what you're going to do that's going to, contribute to the killing or the violence in these communities.
Right. B Fly, what's your take on that? Prison sentence being tougher, harsher, preventing crime. What do you think? Do you think that's true?
Jules is 100% correct. If there was an actual deterrent to crime, to violent crime, then we would have implemented that by now as a society, But there is no deterrent to evil. Evil exists as long as good exists. All right. What I want to know is, why are there so many kidnappings specifically in Memphis right now? Like, according to, Google, there have been over 100 reported kidnappings in Memphis alone this year. This year, and so and that is real. And over the past 6 months, I don't know about your social media feeds, but I'm seeing a lot of street footage of attempted kidnappings, like foiled kidnappings gone wrong, at least once a week, with the same frequency as once upon a time when I used to see police brutality on my timeline every day. I'm seeing kidnappings regularly. All right. Damn. So when this situation happened and took a few days to to get resolved and to find her body and to find him. And this I started wondering, like, well, what's going on in Memphis right now for real? And so that's when I found out that there's a lot of kidnappings that have been reported in Memphis. And and I'm wondering what is at the end of this. Most crimes, there's a means to an end. You can pretty much understand the criminal. You're robbing a bank because you want money. All right. You're robbing a person because you want money.
Right.
You're kidnapping a person for one of three reasons. For your own prowess, like your own cannibal evil shit, for organs, or for
trafficking,
Yep. And so this brings us to one of the foundational money trading system of our economic world, which is people, which is women, and that is tragic. The fact that we still have not been able to squash the selling of people to other people for whatever evil purpose, like that right there is heartbreaking. It's scary,
No doubt.
it's furious, and so it's like, in these attacks, in these foiled attacks, I'm seeing something. I'm seeing a personal theme. They're always going after women. Women are either walking alone or walking with children. There's some sort of initial interaction with a man, a stranger on the street, and then there's a van shortly after, and so it's
No, I'm as I'm listening to you real quick, B, and it speaks volumes about, going back to Jules' point, like, you see, it's crazy that as much as this country, we love to promote the law and order, emphasis of our Constitution and just of society. Policing is so strong in our society. It takes up a lot of the city budgets across the country, right? You got more money that's going to public safety than there is to, education, public education.
Mm-hmm.
So policing is so ingrained. You got TV shows that we all love, that we watched. We grew up on Cops. We got SWAT and all of these shows that's talking about policing and the hard fist of the heavy hand of the law. And guess what? People still kill. People are still committing crimes, right? To your point, Jules. And so something is not connecting. Something inherently is not connecting. Even when President Biden said, hey, we're going to put more money into law enforcement agencies and institutions that we're going to bring. And even for us as Black folks in this country, right? When as much as we have had issues with the police as a people, as a community, there are still some of us in our community that would say, well, if we had more police walking around, we wouldn't be in this situation. It's like something is not connecting with us about how we should be served, and more importantly, how we should be protected. Something is not connecting here, y'all. If you got harsher prison penalties, you got more police, you got police that look like damn, soldiers when they coming out the patrol cars and out these SWAT vehicles, right? Like all this stuff, you got money into guns, you got all this, but people's crime is still going up in cities across this country. People aren't afraid to take human life. It becomes so commonplace now.
Right. That's the point.
You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, something is not connecting, y'all. I'm not, honestly, I don't know how to really put my finger on it. Like if it's a human, if it's a policy structural thing, or it's a human nature thing. You know what I'm saying? Being and Jules, like something is not connecting. Like you can't have America is one of the most civilized, militarized societies. I don't even know if that's a term to describe, but y'all think y'all understand. Like we bring the police out on children in this country, right? We are militarized to the wazoo, and it's still not stopping people.
There you go.
From their lower desires, from their darkest nature.
That's the point.
I don't know how to wrap my mind around it. Like, yeah, how you go out and killing 4 people, or you go into a church and you shoot people? I mean, you're not even afraid.
You know, when you intersect greed and entitlement, you can get a Molotov cocktail of problems and plagues on society, you know? And so, and that's what it is. And at the end of the day, you can't imprison someone for being greedy. And so the issue, the root of the issue here is something that can't necessarily be touched. So all we can do is deal with the scab. You know, we can put handcuffs on the scab once the scab pops up, you know, and so and that's the only time, you know, but greed is not going away. Entitlement is not going away, you know. Living in a loveless life is not going away. And the fact that people live in loveless lives, when you have a loveless lifestyle, it perpetuates, you know, all of the ills of society, you know. And so and you can't put handcuffs on that, because that shines a light on everybody at some point, you know. And
but see, here's the thing though, B. I've heard people say it in Baltimore, and I've heard this in other across this country. You can't police your way out of this right now. Like the place that we are in this country when it comes to human to human interaction, right? Not even just black and white. I'm talking about black and black, black and brown, whatever. Human to human interaction. And we're so violent. We talk about this very much. We're so violent. Everything is just leads to violence. You know what I'm saying? We're violent with our words. We're violent with our physical bodies. We're violent in our policies. We're violent in it seems like violence is so prevalent. Something is not there.
Compassion. Empathy.
True
empathy.
Empathy.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Love. Like we don't see, and look, we don't see each other like human beings.
That's so Farajii, that's the point I was going. You're getting to the crux of the argument. Here's the argument that I have the most about the society and the times we live in. We do all this medical research and want to deem things as mental health. There's so many programs and things, you know, when they say these things going on in these different urban communities, it's mental health or it's lead or it's this and that. You know what the real question is? And that needs to be, you know what I'm saying, that the researchers haven't figured out. And once they figure this point out, then they can provide the treatments to find out what's the cause and what's the root. The question is, what is the value of human life? Because currently there isn't. There's so much killing. That is a mindset that I can just take somebody's life and be fine with it. That is a problem. That is a problem. That's the problem. It's not the mental health. It's not the lead. It's not all that other nonsense that you're researching. It's the actual thought of what is the value of human life. If I get in an altercation with somebody, whether it's in the minor, it could be you stepped, like, you know, take it back to that. You stepped on my shoes. The first thought in my head should be, I should kill this man for stepping on my shoes. Hey, bro, like, let's talk about it. Or apologize in the act. But now there's this devaluation of human life that it doesn't matter. So you step in my shoes, I can just kill you. I can kill you right now. Or you like my girl picture on Instagram, I should kill you right now. Or you on my block trying to sell what I'm trying to sell, I should kill you right now. Like there is no value on human life. That is the problem.
Jules. So if since there's no value, and I agree with you, right? Like we could take this conversation in a couple of different ways, B. We can say there's no value in human life. We can ask, how did we get there? And we can also ask, how did we get from there?
Mm-hmm.
So how did we get to there? And how did we get from there? Now, we can spend all day talking about how we got to that place, right? Because I think that over the past 50 years in this country, we've become more and more violent, right? And we can talk about it all day. How do we get from there? How do you put compassion, value, love, how do you put that back into the hearts of a person who was conditioned to see people as threats, danger?
Exactly.
We're conditioned like that from the time we're a child all the way up into adulthood. Now we got to do the reverse and get people to see us, to see, you don't even, the sad part about it is some of us have to literally take life or be on the brink of losing life till we start to appreciate life.
And that's a human condition.
And then that's what I'm saying, be like, yo, that's crazy, because guess what? Let's put it down like this. Let's just keep it real. Y'all ready for this one? Y'all can agree with me or disagree with me. Somebody gotta fuck up, can take your family, your loved one's life, and then they get in a moment of clarity and I did the wrong thing. But I suffer. You feel what I'm saying? My suffering opened up your consciousness. My suffering opened up, it softens your heart.
And
like, can't there be another way?
No, that's not the design. Evidently, that's not the design, because I think that's where we think that, that's where we end up devaluing life, when we can't see someone's eureka connected to our suffering. I hope that if the person who brought me pain, if in that moment they receive that aha and really never do it again, we should all be able to fuck up and have a hallelujah moment, and the problem with
at the expense of somebody else's life, though, B.
But listen, that's an extreme situation. But let's think about the times, you know what I'm saying, when we fuck up on a regular Tuesday, you know what I'm saying, and we're not changed by that fuck up when we do it. So it's like, it's real. And so let's think about the argument that you end up having, and later on you realize that you were wrong. If you don't seek that person out and tell them, hey, Eureka, you were so right when what you were trying to tell me before.
Right.
I need to come back to you and validate that moment. How many times do we actually follow it through full circle? And so it's like, I can think, maybe 2-3 times, but not the 100 times when I've actually had that moment in my mind. And so that's the part of humanity that each one has to be able to check. And so it's not going to stop until we stop it. And and at the end of the day, it is literally a part of the human fabric, a part of the glory and the wonder of a God that would deposit free will in my wicked ass. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's real. And so it's like at the end of the day, it's like the only difference between us and that killer, that kidnapper, is the fact that they acted on that thought and did it. Most of us think these crimes every day, all day, and don't act. And so does that make us better? Does it really make you better when you think it and don't do it? You know, does that really make you control?
Oh, now, so you want to take us into the mind of Jesus as a man. I'm not trying to be funny.
Conversations.
No, I'm serious. I'm not trying to be funny, because you know what I'm saying. Like, because Jesus talked about Moses bringing the law, but then he was there to be the fulfillment of the law, right? Like, he wanted humanity and society to get to a place where you would police yourself because you have a consciousness, right? You have a self-accusing spirit which would check you. And what the enemy of our rise has often done is the things that would check you, the internal boundaries, right? Our internal boundaries. And this is how deep it goes, folks. The internal boundaries have been slowly diminishing, right? Because of the society that we live in. So things that we want 20, 30, 40 years ago, when you said no back then, the things that we shouldn't do is more acceptable now.
Mm-hmm.
So the internal boundaries, that consciousness that tell you shouldn't do something, has slowly been kind of washed away, and it's taken time. This hasn't happened overnight, but this is an evolution of, I think, of humanity. To your point, B, right, where we've gotten to this point where it's like, you know, back in the day, just take something very simple, fornication and adultery, right? 40 years, 50 years ago, oh my gosh, you were committing adultery. You're an adulterer. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Look at the sentiment. Look at the attitude around adultery.
Today, we poly.
And then not even just we poly, it's today, it's like, Jules, you don't got a side chick?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Everybody got one. You know?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So my point is, it's like those internal checks and balances that we used to have in our culture, in our society. And this is why it's important for Black folks in this country. We shouldn't get so caught up in always trying to be so progressive that we lose the boundaries.
Right.
Because we're the boundaries.
Right.
I mean, seriously, like, what's the boundary?
Right.
Where are the things that keep us intact? Because why? Human nature, and I'm going to get real philosophical in a moment, but here's the thing. Human nature needs boundaries, man. Because we'll go all over the place. We'll be in all types of shit. And if we don't have some boundaries to help us, I mean, we got to have boundaries, because we still have this very carnal nature to us. And until we rise into a higher divine self, your nature has to be checked. It has to be controlled.
You know, because we don't have the simple ant-like mechanism that controls our lanes so we can walk smooth naturally, you know? And that's a part of, I believe, our food chain dominion, if you want to say, you know, when it comes to where we are as humans and our ability to decipher these ideas and for them to shape us, unlike the zebra, unlike the cat. And so these are the separations, you know, between animal and human. And so we are striving, I want to say collectively, to get to this place where we can self-account. But until we get to that place, humans have become dependent on our government in order to provide this system of checks and balance, to where if I am hurt beyond my level of care for self, then I am able to go to this place. If someone hurts me beyond my level of protection of self, then I should be able to seek protection from this institution, and
Right.
so on and so forth, you know. And that's the idea around human government metaphysically, you know. And there's metaphysically nothing wrong with said idea until you have those powers that are more corrupt than the collective. And that's where we are. That's why the majority of society cannot just naturally self-correct, because they're looking at corrupt as leaders who have still not shown them the way to do so.
Right.
So we have leaders who are raping and pillaging, but are still locking up the common man for simple burglary. And so with that comes a disconnect from the human leader, the human concept, you know what I'm saying, of leaders and followers. And so once that system is destroyed and the people run amok with their ideas on social media and think every way is supposed to be my way or the highway.
Right. 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 And
chaos.
And real quick, and I want to get to some comments very quickly, but it also we afraid to look at the dark side of humanity, right? Like we want to legislate everything. We want to throw money at a certain situation, but we really don't want to really study and see on a fundamental level that there are some dark elements in our makeup, right? And really address that part. You know what I'm saying, Jules? Without, I mean, we want to throw a law into it, man. Look, violence in America, I'm convinced this is so much bigger than law, policing, so much bigger than programs for justice and all of those things. Like inherently, there's a fundamental issue with human beings right now. And I'm saying all of us, on how we see ourselves, how we see each other. There's something fundamentally happening right now. And there's no way that we're going to go back to that original point. We can't police our way out of this. Like there's something happening right now. What you're seeing with the human being right now, whether you're black or white, Asian, Latino, something is really happening. And if we can't have this part of the conversation, this is our culture. If we don't have to look at the world and all of it. We can look at black people. Black people, something is fundamentally happening to us.
We're being upgraded or downgraded.
That's it.
You know,
I mean,
and
seriously,
that's literally what it is.
That's
and so it's
that's
like,
it. Our culture right now is it needs to be examined and reviewed, and we need to take a real deep look at it, because we're not healthy. We're not whole people. We're not whole. We actually are very deficient. And y'all could, we could talk about the politics of it all and all that stuff, and I'm okay. But the reality is the human being, the black man and the black woman in America, we are deficient. We are missing something. It could be as a result of injustice, because injustice can imbalance your thinking. It could be a result of not getting as far as we should be getting because of racism and sexism and all of these roadblocks, but something is inherently missing. Jules, I want to give you an opportunity.
Vitamin R.
Right. It could be poor health and wellness, lack of. Jules, what's your take?
I mean, just to sum it all up, I mean, I agree with every point. I mean, even the word empathy alone is just it's a word that's no longer used because nobody has it. Well, I'm not gonna say nobody, I'm not gonna classify, but it's not a word that's, culturally accepted amongst the masses in this current day and age. So it's just like, whatever your religion is, whatever your belief is, just continue to pray for, yourselves first, because you got to work on yourself. But at the same sense, it's like, the way that we're viewing the world now, as far as violence, as far as kidnapping, as far as trafficking. I mean, it's so much going on, and it's like it's been going on for a while now, and it's like just now to the point where the numbness is starting to play up again that I mentioned earlier. It's just like you see it so much. It's like, damn, another one. Instead of, oh, let's go find that girl. Oh, let's stop that. Oh, let's go get that dude for doing that. Like it's just another. It's like in our day, it's just another one. Another day has come, another time. So.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let me get to some comments, because our online culture crew has been chatting it up a storm. Zoe, you said longer prison sentencing will not reduce recidivism if people are not getting help and properly rehabilitated. Exactly. Can't just throw people in a steel cage and say, you're reformed. Deanne Pena, you said this is just another way, an excuse for them to give Black people harsher sentences, because this can happen at any time. The percentage of this occurring is very small. They know it. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And I appreciate you, Deanne, and Zoe, I appreciate you as always. Lana, one of our loyal watchers, you said the deterrent to violent crimes are jobs. The inmate slavery is only making the 1% richer. Aramark feed prisons and schools. I'm just saying. Pastor Damon Blissett. Damon, you said people that are going to commit a crime will do it no matter what the punishment is. Facts. And if you got to constantly threaten people that in order for them to stop committing crimes, they will be killed themselves. That's a problem. Sophia, you checked in and said, when has tougher penalties work? Who's doing this research? When are they trying to defund poverty? Come on, how about that, Sophia? How about it? Truth is power. You said, I keep telling people when people go out and do mass killings, that's something spiritually wrong with them people. And then they put up their manifesto for hate for others to follow. That's America. Yeah, something missing. Mike V, you said the problem is structural and not solely an individual issue. There has to be a step-based process from early childhood into adulthood. Invest more into public health to get a result of public safety. Facts. But you got adults, Mike. You got adults that live in a third and fourth childhood. They can't get out of that space. You know what I'm saying? They in the streets, be yakking and wanting to fight jokers. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. Real Brooklyn, you said the judicial system cannot be looked at as a fix or correcting people who decides to commit stupid crimes. There has to be a sense of personal accountability. In other words, grow up. Yeah, bro, I hear you. But guess what? If you don't have that internal voice, how's that going to happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, how's that going to happen? Jules, we Black men. We've been surrounded by other Black men. We know what's out there, the challenges that facing Black men. But you don't see Jules running up in no 7-Eleven trying to rob nobody, because somewhere along the line, he gets it like, yo, if I do this, first it's dumb, it's wrong. But if I do this and I get caught, this is going to happen. We literally are talking about people who just don't think through that whole thing. Now, we can call them stupid. We can say, but they're human beings, and at the end of the human experience don't allow us to be stupid like that. Y'all ain't hear me. The human experience won't allow you to just be stupid. There has to be a turning off of the senses in some way, shape, or form. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, you just don't, you're not born a certain way. You know, even everybody is innately and inherently know the difference between right and wrong. So you mean to tell me you can shoot somebody?
Unless you're born a sociopath, and
unless you're born a sociopath, which they say, right? But
sociopath babies do exist, and parents are not turning in their sociopath babies. You know, and so it's like, so we could easily be dealing with the effect of, 0.003% of the population are literally born maniacs, sociopaths. And the parent, and it's on the parents to understand and to notice that child was not born with the normal self-correction method for humans, you know? And so it's like, but if you're not turning in your baby being sociopath, then your baby gonna end up kidnapped and a white girl running down the streets of Memphis. So,
wow.
You could blame the mama still.
Wow. This is still a big conversation. We're certainly got to keep our eyes on Memphis to see how things work out with this harsher penalty and the sentencing law. And my hope is, at least for today, and the reason I wanted to kind of have this conversation the way we did is because we got to think deeper about this stuff. This is beyond just policy, Jules. This is beyond just policing. This is about the human being. This is something. So we got to have a deeper conversation, because it's taken over so much of us, and it's impacted every single one of us. We can't just talk about, oh, it's just policing, because it's the same stuff. I'm hearing the same stuff. If you study politics, if you study law, if you study government, it's the same stuff over and over and over again. And at this point, it's like, are we choosing to be insane because we're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? Or are we going to really start to look deeper and say, you know what? What's going on with the human being in America right now?
Hey, Farajii.
Yo, you got the final word. What's up?
Real quick, just to change the mood. If Jules is in a 7-Eleven, he's buying a Powerball ticket.
Oh, you're not robbing the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I'm buying a Powerball ticket, bro.
You have a greater chance if you get like 6 of them, though. You got to buy like 6 of them.
You've only hit. It's only one number that wins. So only buy one ticket. Whenever it gets big, only buy one ticket. I don't care about the lottery, so I just buy one ticket. Yeah, I just buy one. You only win one number. One ticket you win.
You're a wild boy. You're a wild boy, son. You're a wild man.
Take me to it. Give me a Powerball tutorial. We're gonna go live. We're not
doing this. We're not doing this. I'm gonna give y'all a commercial. Look, we gotta take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to shift gears, have a conversation. Let's talk about the state of Black Hollywood. I'm gonna be checking in with Julian Bertano, Anthony Commodore, to talk about their latest project and diversity. So stay with us. That's all coming up on The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Y'all wild, man. Let's go to commercial.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. All right, for our final conversation, we've been having some very good conversations, and big shout outs to all of our new watchers, man. I am seeing so many new people, hearing some new voices coming in. Big shout out to my beautiful online culture crew who are always just so welcoming. Even though we don't always agree with one another, you guys are just so welcoming. I'm seeing the conversation on our YouTube page and Facebook page. Y'all are just so welcoming to these new watchers. So thank you for creating a space for everybody to enjoy the show and to be a part of these conversations. But big shout out to everybody. Make sure y'all support us right here on the culture. Make sure y'all just like tag me on everything, my social media really quickly. You can go to The Real Farajii on IG. I'm also on Twitter. And of course, I'm on Facebook. But tag me, put out the let people know. Jawan, Yvette, you always do that. Lana, you do the same thing. Damon, thank you so much. I mean, so many of y'all. I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you for pushing it out there and letting people know that we're having these very, very important conversations. So, folks, you know, there's so many great people. Karen, I see you. Karen Connor checking in from LA. I see you too, sis. So many of you, and I'm just so happy to see so many people checking in. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here for these discussions. All right, folks, as we have our final discussion, I still got my culture crew, B-Fly, who is a producer. She's a writer. She's a hip hop artist, a filmmaker, and she serves as the co-founder of Blackwater Production House. My man, Jules P., who is a hip hop artist. He's an activist and advocate doing some great work with the next generation and in a lot of different spaces. But we wanted to have a conversation about where we are with Hollywood right now, because this weekend was a very, very big weekend for Black Hollywood in particular. So let's talk about some of the big things that have been happening in Hollywood and getting some thoughts around the issue of diversity. But before we do, I want to welcome our special guest back to the show. We had this one brother on, Julian Bertano. I want to welcome him back to the show to talk about his new project, and Anthony Commodore, because they got some great things going on. So Julian, Anthony, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. We got these brothers. We got them. There we go. Yes. Where's Julian? Oh, there you go. My man Julian. There he is.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on?
How's everybody doing?
Hey.
We good, bro. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm doing good right now. I just got my fresh cut and everything.
Wait a minute, hold on. Hey, yo, you gonna take a fit? You gotta do one of them fresh cut look.
You know.
Okay.
Just got my fresh shape up cut and everything for the mayor's event tomorrow out here in DC. Black
That's
tie
what's good.
For the art fair. It's an arts event, so an award show. So we're looking forward to that.
So first and foremost, Julian, the last time we talked, man, you were doing some things. You had some big projects. And Anthony, I see you, brother. I'm going to come right to you. But Julian, you were talking to us about a number of projects that you were working on for the community, especially, and then some of the things that you're doing on your professional side with acting and all of that. Bring us up to speed with where you are, Julian.
Right now, just coming off of a huge week. Last week, working with brother Anthony Commodore here. On a project which I will give him the opportunity to introduce, because it is his birth, it's his child, it's his creation, and I was there to support and do what I can to try to bring some value to the equation. I also have another project that got picked up on Lionsgate for distribution. That's called Matchstruck. It's a psychological thriller, which I'm pretty excited about that. Bunch of other new things coming up too, but I don't want to take too much time like that. But other than that, my wife and I, we have also just got into the hotel space, so we are hotel owners. Bought our first hotel.
Come on, brother. Come on, brother.
I'm just saying,
Yo, that's dope right there, Julian.
Thanks, man. We out here, we grinding.
So y'all got your own hotel, man, and that's in DC. Is that correct?
No, it's not in DC. Not yet, at least.
Not yet. Okay.
No, but it's in Southern Virginia, South Boston, Virginia.
Okay, Virginia. Okay.
It's called the Rook Hotel. So it's our
That is
brand,
dope.
our chain that we are starting. So, you know, we're doing some interesting things. We got some things on deck as well regarding our next locations, and we're just excited about the whole process.
Hey, bro. Oh my gosh, so much we need to catch up with you on, bro. And I'm so happy for you, for your wife, and for the growth. And I see that the career is continuing to go up. So big shout out to you, man. And I'm just like, oh snap, this dude is making moves. He's been on the show. So I'm just grateful, brother. I'm grateful. All right, so let's bring our other brother in, Anthony, Commodore Anthony. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today here on the Black Star Network. You are a filmmaker. Talk to us about the work that you do.
Yes, well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Say what's up to my brother Julian, who's in DC. I should come, should ride through there tonight, but I got to work. But yes, I'm a filmmaker here in the DC area. I was able to put together some pretty good projects, and my brother Julian inspired me when I met him in 2019. I remember him asking me to watch Greenleaf that he was a part of, and I didn't get to watch it until 2 years later. But once I watched it, I called a brother. I said, "Yo, man, this is over. I want more." So what I did was I used my creative, and I created my own version. And I called him. I sent him the first draft, and he read the first draft, and everything started to come together. We ended up with some pretty good producing partners out of town. We put together the pilot episode. We had a pretty good casting. We had, assembled a pretty good crew, and we shot the actual entire first pilot episode last week nonstop. And so it was a long, busy week, but we got some good stuff out of there. Trailer should be dropping sometime soon, as we're working on that now. But it's just a blessing to have this brother, be an inspiration and to create something that's faith-based, that everyone could relate to. It tests your faith, it tests your loyalty, it tests your religion. So there's so many things that this show has to offer that audiences around the world, not just like in a specific area, but around the world would adapt to and love.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So talk to us a little bit about where we are. I mean, you're putting out your own content. You're taking ownership of your own story in this case, right, Anthony? How important is that? And what's been the feedback? What's been the result of you deciding to move in that space the way you are moving?
The feedback I got, and remember, we were in pre-production, and we just got out of principal photography, so we're fresh out. Basically, we're just waking back up. But in the pre-production phases, dealing with our producing partners, we got a great deal of feedback. And this is something that was definitely needed, because again, you watch faith-based and you kind of fall in love with it. And when it's over, you want more. You want to continue to create good content and good story, but something that's true, something that is fiction, but it has a great nonfiction feel to it, if you know what I mean. So that's one thing we were able to do, and something like this brings communities together, brings people together. And again, we filmed the first 3 days inside of a church in historic Baltimore, and this church was built in 1851. So we had the pleasure of filming in this specific church, which was just phenomenal. So that's kind of where we are now. Again, we're just kind of resting a bit, and we're just ready to go into the new phase of this project.
And Julian, bring us up to speed in terms of, I know that you guys are working together, but tell me how far are your hands in this project in particular?
I'm a supporter. I am Anthony did offer me a lead role in the project as the pastor. So my character is Pastor Alan Grant of the church and the situation. So it's awesome. But other than that, however, anytime there's a question or a thought, what my thoughts may be, or whatever the case may be, I'm just there to, lend the ear and be supportive, like I said from the beginning.
Right. And I mean, we're in a space right now, brothers, I think in Hollywood, where I'm hearing a lot more actors like yourself, Julian, who are moving out into a space of producing, into directing. I'm seeing that, in Hollywood right now, that there's more emphasis placed on authentic, independent content, not just on the big budget tentpole type of films.
Right.
Do you feel, Julian, first I want to get your take on this, bro. Do you feel like for Black representation, what's the best course of action for us to take? Because I think we need to be in all those spaces, but what's going to give us more bang for our buck for where we are right now?
My perspective, my opinion is first thing we got to do is increase our creative literacy. Okay. We have to first be able to produce the type of content at a level that no one can, somebody just put it on and no one be able to tell that a Black creator made it. You understand what I'm saying? So there's certain things when it comes to cinematography, with composition, lighting, sound, all angles, just all that makes a huge difference. I think if our filmmakers and whatnot, they learn all these different other components, color theory and whatnot, understand what, color composites work on for a specific mood. You understand what I'm saying? Little things like that first. Once we get our communities to be able to do that, then they'll understand how to bring it all together, working together to make that happen. And then once we do that, now we come up with ideas, topics other than just shoot them up, bang, bang. We could do more than that. And we need to be able to just let that come. If someone doesn't know, they can spend a little bit of time, learn how to, sit with people and get and capture stories on paper, write it down, make notes, and then we create something. Then we stand a fighting chance out there in the streaming space.
Bro, you just hit me with something with that one. We have to elevate our creative literacy, saying that we need to produce projects where it doesn't look like, quote unquote, a Black creative made it. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because the rest of the world, they just like quality. As long as it's a good story and it's shot well, that's what they care about.
Right.
Like, so let your mind go. We exist in more than one or two spaces in society. So that's the key. Open your mind. Let's go for it.
Yeah, I love that, Anthony. And then I want to bring in my culture crew member, B Fly, who is a filmmaker herself, into this conversation. But Anthony, what's your take on that creative literacy piece?
Well, Julian hit it on the head, but I'm just going to kind of piggyback and add my own perspective. We have to be able to have the ability to think out of the box, because as African American filmmakers, we are put in a certain realm in which we have to work with. But once we get out of that certain realm, we can create more, we can become more. And with me, I'm beyond a local mindset. My mindset is always global. And that's why the projects that have created right now and in the past are basically global projects. And I remember I had a time where I created a comedy series, and I was asked during a phone conference regarding my series. The guy stopped me mid-sentence and said to me, "Excuse me, may I ask you a question? And I hope I'm not offending you, but are you African American?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." But because of what he saw, it wasn't his idea of what African Americans create. And I said to him, "Yes, we create. We have, just like Julian said, we are beyond the bang bang shoot 'em up. We are creative individuals, and once we realize how creative we are, we can do so much well for ourselves and our community."
That's right there. That's just that gives me good energy, good vibe. I want to bring in B Fly. B Fly, you still with me, sis?
I'm right here.
Yeah. We got a lot of male energy. We got a lot of male energy right now on the line. So I got to bring my sister back into that. But B, listening to what Julian and Anthony are saying about that creative point, what I mean? What's your take on that? Like we have to create great content. We have to tell great stories. We have to shoot it well. That way the world don't always know that it's from a Black creator.
I think at the end of the day, there's a difference between, having a Black aesthetic and then having a low budget. All right. And so I think that's like in the lines and between the lines, of what our creatives are saying, you know, like that's really what it is. And because there's infrastructural racism and creative racism and all of these elements, you know, that go into our learning, a lot of times when we're navigating the arts and not supported, we end up going rogue. And so within that rogue, our budget slip shows a lot of times, you know. And so increasing that creative literacy is important. And so I would like for you to discuss how to do so, you know, when thinking outside of the box. Like, what are a couple of like quick resources you'd be able to give our listeners, you know, and give our people where they can go to help increase their creative literacy while on their journey, you know, because, you know, when you're a visionary, you know, and you have the vision, that's a different situation, you know, from being the technical shooter, you know, and then navigating the executive realm and putting your vision together, you know. So it's like, so we have levels to filmmaking today, because, you know, we can make a film on our phone today and call ourselves a filmmaker as a result of that today, you know. So it's created this swath of creatives, you know, out there creating and completing and distributing their own work. So when on that journey of independent filmmaking, like where are the reputable places to actually go to increase that literacy?
I love that. That's a great question. Hey Julian, what's your answer to that one, bro?
I have an answer for it. It's called ECA, right? And I'm gonna tell you what it is. ECA is Entertainment Careers Academy, and it is something that my wife and I developed and created in conjunction with the community on a state level, the community colleges, and working with the local workforce in the different areas. So it's a breakdown of different areas such as, you know, lighting, sound, being a grip, acting, writing, producing, carpentry. You know, there's different areas of interest that a person can take on, come learn from our professors and instructors, and actually start putting them on projects. You know, people that's active. Like, that's something that we have right now that we, you know, as also being registered with the state of North Carolina with its apprenticeship program, and also with the community colleges. So right now in Virginia and North Carolina, this is something that we have, you know, implemented. So,
and Julia, is there like a website for ECA?
No, unfortunately, it is not. This is something. It's so brand new. Just got all the approvals for it, and so we're rolling it out as we speak.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So this is something
awesome.
That, at least from our angle, like, we're going to ask for the projects and the film incentive credits and things like that. We got to make sure that our, you know, the community, the culture is up to snuff on how to do things in a certain level, a certain way.
This is true.
Absolutely. Hey, Anthony, what is your response to B's question about how do we raise the creative literacy? What is a resource? We got ECA that's coming. What resources would you recommend?
To add on to what Julian said, I think a number one resource is our own minds. When we take a key to unlock our minds and realize how creative we are, then we can go out and then we can research. I created some projects. My first project I created that had a more of a global feel is called King's Son. It's about a Middle Eastern mob boss. But what I did is I watched some local kind of, you know, bang bang shoot 'em up, and I said, I don't want to be right there. I want to do something a little different. So what I did is I did a bit of research. So in this particular project, I was able to include Asians, Russians, Hispanics, Italians, African Americans, and Latinos, to bring them all together to create a new project in which it allowed me to open up my creativity, because once we do that in our own minds, to really realize how creative we are, because we are creative creatures, but a lot of us just don't realize that yet. But once we realize that we can open the key to our brain and just let things flow, that is another resource that we can actually use. And I did it with King Sun, I did it with Uproar, and I did it with this specific project. And to give you an example, just like B Fly said earlier, budget. I took a kind of a small budget, not a huge, ultra low budget, but I took a small budget and I brought out the passion in everyone to make it a Hollywood look, to give it a Hollywood look. And when people arrived on set Monday morning, they were shocked to see what they saw. It's not because we didn't have millions, but we had passion from each crew member to say, hey, we're going to create this project. We're going to make it look like a Hollywood film. And when I, showed Julie and the rest of the crew the dailies the next day, because we get dailies, they were in awe. So it doesn't matter how much you have, because I could take 20,000 and create a Hollywood type film. But it's now we have people who want to actually watch it to say, hey, you know what, this is good. Let's take this to the next level. So I think it all starts mentally and, within our own minds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's another part of it, brothers and sisters, and B, that I think that we need to talk about, which is the issue of diversity, because just as much, Julian, you say creative literacy, Hollywood is still grappling with the issue of the lack of diversity that we're seeing. Tyler Perry was at the Toronto International Film Festival. He said this about diversity, and let's post this, Ariel, on the screen. When he said, at Tyler Perry Studios, we train so many people, we've brought people in and they do an amazing job, but as soon as people are trained and they know the job, they're snatched up to go to some bigger production, which is fine, because if you want to find people who know their job, if they can make it at my studio, they can make it anywhere. What I don't want to have is Black people in seats that we weren't ready for, and then have people that are not Black that were moved out of seats. If we didn't get qualifications, the teaching or the education to get there, then how are we given the seat so quickly? It's my hope that in all of this change and this push for there to be more inclusion, we're also providing time and training to make sure we can do a great job. That's interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is interesting. Julian, talk to me, bro. I mean, that speaks volumes about, I know people are always pushing for diversity, and I know people are saying, oh, we need to be at the table, but I always will ask, like, oh, yo, you qualified to be at the table?
And that goes back to both with what Anthony and I said, putting it together. They have to have the mindset, the right frame of mind, they have to understand how to deal with people on a certain level, and then they have to have literacy. Like you have to know how to do it, how to apply it, when to do it, how to work it as a holistic person in this space. This isn't checkers here. If you want to be successful in it, this is chess all the way. So it takes both. It takes the mental, spiritual, get your emotions right, and get your soft skills together. Something basic as soft skills.
Facts. And I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing the situation that we're in. B, what's your take on this diversity issue that Tyler Perry brought up?
It's I love it. I love it. I'm not even going to mince any words about it. I love it. There is a responsibility because, the quicker you are pedestalized, the faster, the harder your fall is, but at the end of the day, you can't unsee what you see. All right. And you can't unblack the world, and so it's like the fact that we have that Hollywood and this industry, overall has been so whitewashed for so long, it's like this is a part of that powder keg, that is inching up to the surface. And so you can't unblack the world. We are here, and that's fact. We're talented, we're skilled. And so it's like there are ceilings that are now open and we are going to go in, you know?
Right.
And so and that's just what that is, you know. A couple people will be elevated, you know, and they might not have they won't be able to adapt fast enough, whatever, you know what I'm saying? That's par for the course, you know. I think what I'm hearing him say though is something else, you know. He doesn't want to be used as a stepping stone into the overall white industry,
Right.
you know. And so and that right there is an honest lament, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, and we should be able to go through a Tyler Perry, like a school of sorts, you know, and go into Ava and create these Black worlds that are sustainable for our careers, that do allow us to actually conceptualize and execute at the same level, you know. Like, we all like to play with the greatest toys, you know. And so it's like we want to be able to have that experience and to black out some sets that have been so white for a long time. Like, this is a part of the revolution, you know. And so I believe Tyler Perry is afraid of something else, and this was his most politically correct way to really go about it, you
Well,
know?
and you know, you know what I think he's afraid of? And Anthony and Julian, tell me if I'm wrong on this. I think he's afraid of the simple fact that you're going to get Black people in spaces and they don't know how to handle. They're not going to know how to navigate through those spaces, right? And when you're talking about creating Black content, going back to what Julian and Anthony, y'all were both saying, you know, is it really necessary if that project, if that content is being worked on by white people? Does that take away from the content, the power or the empowering message that that content may have for Black people and Black culture? Like, I personally, if white people, for example, or if members of the LGBTQ community is working on content that's for Black people, I would think that that would actually raise the level of consciousness. That's a win. Because our story is being told from an authentic place, and then people are helping to tell our story so they will gain a better understanding. Am I wrong in thinking that, Anthony?
You're not wrong, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I created a project called Her Defense. It's about the first Black defense attorney, first Black transgender defense attorney in DC. It's a fictional story that reads real. And I did win the Toronto Film Festival screenwriting competition. But when it came time to push that specific project, I've received the messages from certain networks, we're not ready for that yet. And it hits you differently when someone says we're not ready for that, because now it taps into your creative. You never want to doubt your creative, but some of these places out here, some of these outsourcers out here are not just ready to take that first step. They want someone else to do it first, but they don't want to take that move. And these were prominent networks that is still causing me to scratch my head when you create something like this. But just like you know, B-Fly and Julian said, you have to put yourself in that space where you can walk into any room, regardless of what race, ethnic group, whether it's Asian, white, and be ready to sit at that table and know you have to research, you have to prepare yourself. So when you go in, you don't have to be taught what to do at that table. You basically own that table, and that's what we need to get in the African American culture. We have to be able to own any table we sit down at.
Julian, what's your take on that, bro? And I appreciate it. I'm glad you thinking progressively, because sometimes, and I know, Julian, some people always get mad. Even on this show, folks are like, well, why do, when Black people talk about issues, why can't we just stay totally Black? Why we got to bring in other people? You know what I mean? Like, we become the key to unlock the door for for all of these other marginalized communities. But I'm like, because we've been down here, we've been the ones that's been down for the longest, right? Like we live down in the basement, so we understand the layout of the land. Right. But you know what I'm saying? Like we are at a point now where the other people want to help to tell the stories. I don't know if it's white guilt. I don't know if it's just people just have a greater interest in it. What are you seeing?
My take on it is, again, just I preface it with just my perspective.
Right.
But I feel like long as we getting the message out, long as there's attention, there's energy being poured into it. Yeah, there are some that's gonna have to step up and help with the accountability and quality control with it. But if somebody else outside of our quote unquote community and our culture wants to help, let them help. Let them help. Because a lot of time the resources are there, the network is there, and it ain't just about money. Because there's different ways to get to the money for a project. You know what I'm saying? But it's all the other pieces of the logistics that make it all come into play. What type of distribution model, marketing plan, what type of, it's all these different elements, components that make a viable project. Right. So, and a lot of times other people have these resources, they have these networks, they have these connections ready to be used, wanting to find and identify the right people to attach themselves to as well. Because they're definitely going to get something out of it. It makes them look good. And that's fine. It's reciprocity. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. Like, how can we reciprocate our activities in a level of you receiving, I'm receiving? Hey, it is what it is. Well, let's understand it. We have this conversation up front.
Right.
And keep it that simple. That's me.
No, and I'm with you right there, bro. I'm with you right there. I think that, there's a certain level of maturity that comes along with, telling our story and letting the other people help us in telling our story. As long as we're taking the lead, you know what I mean? It's one thing you take the lead versus sitting in the back. But if we're telling our story, we're the writers, we're the directors, we're the producers, we're telling our story, but you got your team. That's not all black. You got white people, you got Latino people, you got all these different people a part of your team. So be it. I'm like that. Like, man, look, everybody needs to help. Because guess what? Black folks, we didn't put ourselves in this position.
Right.
Everybody gained off of the ignorance and the lack of off of our ignorance in some way, shape, or form. Everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So everybody, all hands on deck in telling and supporting us to tell our story.
Exactly.
All hands on deck.
All hands on deck. Boy, let's go. I'm trying to tell you.
Hey, look, we got a few moments left, but I wanted to give each one of you, Julian, Anthony, and of course B, and I want to bring my man Jules P back into it. Jules still with us? I want to, not trying to exclude my man Jules. I just wanted to have this conversation in a different way, but I wanted to give everybody a chance to talk about what's next for with the work that you're doing. Anthony, what's next for your project? I know y'all just like fresh off of filming, filming all of those things. What do you want the community to? How you want the community to support you at this point?
Well, I want the community to support. Just basically, I'm gonna need the community's patience as we go through this next phase. But we're just not going to sit and wait because there are other projects that we're looking to, get off the floor running. Because here in Prince George's County, I live in Charles County. Prince George's County, they have a grant, a film grant that they give out, from September to October. So we want to take advantage of that. And with that, we want to make sure that we bring the community together, because when we film this project, it'll be filmed solely in this specific county that gives the grant. Therefore, we can give more community members, business stakeholders, an opportunity to take a part in this next venture. But while we're waiting, and not while we're waiting, but during the post-production process, we have to put together a heck of a marketing plan, and we would love to involve our community and assisting with this marketing plan, like get on local television or local papers or local streaming services, so we can actually push and let the community know exactly what we're doing with this specific project, along with other projects that we can get the community come and be a part of. And that's basically where our headspace is right now.
Awesome. And Julian, what about you, brother?
Like I said, likewise. Anything that dealing with Mercy Road, Commodore, I support. You know, he's a good brother. He has good values and morals and intentions. You know, everything else we got going on the Patano group and the Rook Hotel side, I mean, everybody just follow us and pay attention. If we put out any type of request or anything, just support. You know,
there it is.
That's it.
And you're gonna be a part of the great celebration in DC tonight, right, Julian?
It's tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow evening. Yes.
Awesome. Well, brothers, I want to say thank you again on behalf of the culture here on the Black Star Network. You know, Julian, you always got a place here, brother, to talk about any upcoming projects and works that you continue to do. So you family with us. Anthony, welcome to the family. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, and truly appreciate y'all for doing the great work. I know it can be an uphill battle to shift the culture of Hollywood, especially when it comes to Black creators and Black filmmakers and just Black representation. But you brothers are definitely doing it, and we definitely appreciate you for your contribution for the culture. So thank y'all both for being on the show.
And thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. B and Jules P, thank y'all. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for joining us. Thank you. Hey, Jules, thank you, sir.
No problem, bro. You know how I get down. We got this.
B, always good to talk to you, sis. So happy that we can connect with you on Monday. So thank you so much, B. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Farajii. Thank you for having me as always.
Absolutely. Folks, that's going to do it for us today. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. Big shout out to my online culture crew. Yes. Y'all know who you are. Thank you so much for your support. Make sure y'all support us here at Black Star Network, folks. Go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. Continue to support us. Continue to put the word out that Black-owned media is here, and we are here to stay. We're going to tell our story. We're going to plead our own case. And most importantly, we're going to put out some dope-ass programming right here on Black Star Network. Y'all show y'all support. Continue to share the content as we go live. And whenever we go live, either tune in or share. And that will help us out tremendously. Also, you can follow me on all of my social media platforms. The Real Farajii on Instagram. I'm at Farajii on Twitter and Farajii Muhammad on Facebook. Make sure y'all check me out there. I'm getting so many of y'all like checking in and want to be friends with me. I just like, man, okay, I might have to start a second page on Facebook or something. But I'm definitely looking for friends on Instagram and Twitter. So thank you for connecting with me. And let's continue to build and have the conversations. I want to thank my fantastic crew. I want to thank Joel and Shannon. I want to thank Ariel, my man King Keenan, for making this show so happening. And my crew in the control room. Thank you for doing the great work that y'all do each and every day for us here on the Black Star Network. Stay tuned. Up next is RMU, Roland Martin Unfiltered with the big guy, Brother Roland. Y'all see the work that we're doing. Y'all see how we're moving with Urban Edge Network. Y'all see all of the things that's shaking and moving with Black media across the country and how Black Star Network is a part of the conversations. You see it? That's because of you. So thank you for tuning in. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Thank y'all. Talk to you soon. Peace.